Right then, here's the other side of the wall. So starting from the top, we got some Citadel, a new range of paints. Okay, now I went to Games Workshop and I found out they've brought out some new ranges, and I've kind of been experimenting with them really. So what we've got here is got the Citadel Dry Paints. Okay, now these paints are designed specifically for dry brushing, which from what I've found out so far is actually a really nice big help, and seems to be easier and that bit better. Okay, now you can get any other paints really and do dry brushing, which is just getting a dry brush and making sure your brush is dry basically, but this, it just seems to help and be a bit nicer. It's like a mousse inside and it's almost dried up paint, and what that does, it just makes the whole dry brushing process a bit easier. They've also brought out as well some textured Citadel paints. Now these textured Citadel paints, okay, are quite thick, but what's inside the paint is like they're kind of like lots and lots of little plastic ball bearing type shapes, and what it does is you can paint that on and you get this kind of like nice, easy, quick, instant, muddy sort of an effect, which I do want to do some testing on that. I do actually want to see how good that textured paint is up against, say, what I like to do, which is using pigments, PVA glue, and kind of make up your own muddy consistency. So I'm going to look at them at a later date. As well as that, Citadel have also brought out some what they call shades. Basically it's a wash with another name. I still want to look at them. I do find that they seem to have quite a bit of a matte medium inside these washes, which I don't personally like, because once it's dried, and I like to use cotton wool buds to blend the washes in and being able to wipe a bit of it away and everything. But once these are dried, they've dried like paint and you can't wipe them away, but we might be able to find some uses for them. They've also started doing like a base and a layer 1, a layer 2 type paints, and what this is the base paint has got like a high pigment count. So because it's got a high pigment count, it kind of covers better, and then the layers are for doing like highlights. Okay, and what that basically means is it's thinned down to a nice consistency where you can lightly put a bit of highlight in. The paint's quite thin, so it's a bit transparent, so you get the original base colour still showing through and you get that nice highlight effect. So that's kind of like the new range that Citadel's been bringing out, and I'm playing around with that. I've also got a bunch of inks by Winsor and Newton. Forgot to mention these paints are about £2.30 as well. The Winsor and Newton inks are around about £3–4. These are good for just general washes. It's just nice to have different types of washes because they can have different effects. Also got some of Tamia's, I forgot how many mil it was, but this is I don't know, about maybe £4–5 or something. It's a as you can tell, I mean, it's a bigger thickness than your big 16mm by Tamia, and this Tamia tape, it's just nice for kind of putting on a nice quick cheap layer of masking tape for big areas. It is good to get that, saves you a bit of money. Couple of empty mixing pots by Tamia. I don't think these cost that much, like £1 or less than £1 I think it was. Good to kind of do some mixing if you need to. Moving along, we've got the whole Citadel range, which you probably notice. It's the old shaped Citadel paints, and apparently these new ones are supposed to be a better formula than the old ones, which is why I'm playing around, because I'm thinking about getting the whole of the new range. But Citadel Paints for modelling. Now, I find that although you can paint with extra acrylic, Tamia, Reveiw and everything, I find Tamia extra acrylic and Reveiw are good for spraying. But if you want to do some painting, actual paintbrush work, I would recommend the Citadel paints, because they really do, well, they are designed for paintbrushing more than they are for airbrushing. So these do work really nice for paintbrushing. However, their colour range is, shall we say, very colourful. It's very sci-fi, very fantasy. So you end up with lots of purples and pinks and, you know, all those kind of colourful colours, which you're not really going to be using that much for covering, you know, modern aircraft or World War II aircraft. But I do find they're good for painting your cockpits, for doing indicator hazard lights, and you know, all those little bits of brushwork you do. Another good thing that I have also found is their metallic range is pretty nice and pretty solid. They may only have shall we say 3 silvers, the Mithril silver, the chainmail and the bolt gun, but these are really good for doing aluminium work. And you know, that kind of stuff, because I find that they're nice and easy to spray, high pigment count. So you know, you put a couple of paintbrush fulls of this into like half a cup full of thinners, and you know, you're good to spray. So it lasts quite a long time. It's got a nice solid, nice strong finish to it. Really good for doing exhausts. I did find that it was good for doing like the lightning I did, which was like an all over aluminium colour. It's just a lot nicer. I'll explain more when we get down to our Alclads and stuff. Next up, you've got our Tamia range. Now the Tamia range, I would say, is a bit like your Reveiw range in the fact that it's easier to, it's quite easy to spray through your airbrush. You get a nice matte finish. They do scratch a bit, which actually the Reveiw do as well. They do scratch quite easily, but I do like to get a quick gloss coat down, and that isn't really much of a problem. They're about £1.50 a pot, which is quite cheap. However, you only get 10 mils worth of paint with Tamia. Their actual colour range is quite nice. As I say, I mean, extra acrylic has a nice range of colours that match up quite nicely. The Tamia range is just, I'd say it's just nice. You can, you know, match up a few colours. It's just nice. It's a bit like Reveiw. It's a nice kind of range. They mix nicely with X20A, but apart from that, a nice range. They also do kind of like a gloss range, because you've got the XF range, which is matte, and then you've got an X range, which is the gloss range. Now I don't have the gloss range purely because I don't really do gloss work, and whenever I do gloss work, I'll spray the matte on and then I'll put spray gloss coats on it and build up the gloss that way. They've also got a nice X19 smoke, which is like a tinting. It's good for tinting your canopies up if you want to do it that way. That's quite good. And I've also got it's like some clear blue, clear green, clear red, kind of good for indicator lights and hazard lights and that kind of stuff. Next, we've got a couple of paints from the Mr. The Hobby colour range. Okay, Mr. Hobby. Now, people say these are probably the best paints you can get. Okay, I'm not too convinced they're the best, to be honest with you. They're around about £2. As far as I know, the only place you can get them from is China, Taiwan, those kind of places. Apart from, I do know that Models R Go has somehow managed to get their hands on the whole range, and you can buy them from there about £2 a pot, which is quite expensive because you're talking £2 a pot, and you're talking, I think there's only 10 mils in these as well. Now these paints, they do spray quite nicely. You end up with a really nice finish. Now this is where I think people say they're the best paints you can get, because you do end up with, shall we say, the best finish surface out of all the paints. You get a nice kind of satin finish, and it's really strong, really durable, a bit hard to scratch, okay? But what I don't like about these paints, right, why I don't think they're the best, is they take a long time to dry. They seem to have a acrylic stroke enamel feel to them, okay? They are supposed to be an acrylic paint, but they take ages to dry. I mean, they take hours and hours to dry, like an enamel. They smell quite potent, and you've got to be careful, because you're thinking it's acrylic, you can spray it, you're thinking you can spray it on, 15 minutes later you're all good. With this, you're not. I mean, if you 15 minutes later start spraying other colours on top, or you start touching it, you're going to start leaving thumbprints. You're going to get your paintwork starting to crack if you spray on top of it and everything. You do have to give this a good probably 3-4 hours to dry. Probably even long, maybe even leave it overnight, to be honest with you. I've had some problems with the whole drying thing because you think it's an acrylic. Another problem is you have to buy one of these, okay? This is around about £10, which is quite expensive for a bit of plastic and a bit of a rubber thing. And what you do is you put your paint pot inside here, you put this on top, and you can screw the lid off, okay? And the reason why I say you have to get one of these, because as I say, it does feel like it's kind of got some sort of enamel characteristics to it, because when the paint dries around the lid, okay, and then you screw it back on and it's dried onto the lid's dried to the pot, it is virtually impossible to like get this off with just your bare hands, okay? So good finish, good for spraying, but there are a few problems with them, as well as they can be a bit hard to get hold of, a bit expensive. That's why I haven't gone out and brought the whole range of that quite yet. Then we've got the Mr. Metal colours. Now these are really nice, okay? Because when you come to do stuff like natural metal finishes, doing exhausts and all that kind of metally stuff, this stuff is absolutely brilliant. Now I think there's something like £3 a pot or something. You only get 10 mils, and you know, this stuff sprays away like nobody's business, and you know, before you know it, you've used up a tub of paint. It does really go quite quickly. Really thin stuff, really smelly, really potent, extractor fans on and everything, but the finish this gives you is really top class and really nice, okay? You spray this on your exhaust, and what you do is, once you've sprayed it on, you buff it down, and whoa, it's a really nice natural metal finish. So really nice paints, okay? What I've also got is, you've got your Model Master paints, okay, which is a bit similar to your Mr. Metal colour. You can buff them a bit, but you can't buff them as much, okay? These give you natural metal finishes, but as I say, you can give them a little bit of a buff, but not too much, and they're sort of like, shall we say, the cheaper version to them, okay? Not as good, but they are a lot cheaper. Next up is the Alclad 2 Lacquer range. Now these are like your buffable Mr. Metal colours, but these are not buffable, okay? And the finishes that you can get with these are really nice. They are, I would say, more recommended for those kind of aircrafts that really need that all-round natural metal finish. Okay. Now the reason why I wouldn't go for, say, these Mr. Metal colours for an all-over natural metal finish is because they can get quite problematic going all the way around. A lot of work. I do find that, okay, going around and buffing an entire model as well is quite a pain. Easy to scratch. It does show through any imperfections quite badly. And I do find coming along, putting Tamia masking tape on top if you need to do any masking work, you end up peeling quite easily. Okay, you have to be really careful when applying your masking tape. But whereas the Alclads too, okay, you can't buff it. Okay, it's not as good, shall we say, as the Mr. Metal, but they really give you a nice rock hard surface. Okay, put a nice gloss coat on top and you're good to put masking tape on top, and you won't get that kind of nasty peeling that you get with the Mr. Metal range. Okay, and they are still quite good. They are really nice actually, quite expensive. I think they're like £4 a pot, which is quite a bit. You get 30 mils of it as well. Moving along, we got some MIG washes. Now these MIG washes aren't all just washes, because we've got just some plain thinners. Now a bit hard to explain, but this MIG thinners is kind of good for thinning down your washes more, using them for the MIG production oils and stuff. Okay, that's gonna take a bit more explaining. Very expensive these though. I mean, you're talking £6–7 a pot, okay, which is really expensive. They are enamel based, but they really do give you some nice weathering effects, some nice washes and stuff. And not only that, you've got stuff like the rain marks effect. This is good for getting, like, if you've ever looked at your car outside and it's dirty and it's rained and you get those streaks of dirty rain kind of down your car, you can get that effect with this, which is quite nice. You've also got this wet effect and damp earth mixture. You can really kind of say mud. You can apply this to the mud and you make mud look wet and not kind of all dried up and matte, so it gives you another effect. You've got some nice oil and grease stain mixture, which is good for like engines and oil and grease, and you know, as it says on the label. You do get 75 mils, which is nice, but as I say, £6–8, they are really expensive. But they are a nice effect. Right, next we've got our range of Deco Solutions. Now the most common one I think is the Micro Scale Industries ink, which is your micro set and micro sol. Quite popular, does do the job does do the job really nicely. Your micro set is to just nicely soften up the decal ready to go on the model, and you know, kind of get it just on the model. And then the micro sol is good for, you know, getting it to wrinkle up, go into those recessed panel lines, adhere to the model, give you that natural sprayed on look. These are like the £3–4 mark. Really good, but I do find it's also good to also have more than one Deco solution, okay, because I find that it all depends on the decal film. Okay, some decals will do nicely with microcell, some decals will do nice with the Mr. Mark range, some decals X20A will do the job. Okay, it's just, I mean, when you buy decals, it's kind of pot luck, you don't know what it's going to be like. And by having a good range of Deco Solutions, you know you're going to have a Deco solution for the job. And I've found so far that the micro Solon set plus the Mr. Mark range plus some X20A, and one of them should work. Okay, and if all else fails, Tamia Extra Thin Cement put that on a decal, it'll melt anything, no problems. It's also a glue, by the way, which you've probably already seen. The Tamia Extra Thin Cement, I think this is about £6–7. You've got to get it from like China, Taiwan, those kind of places. It's really good because you've got a nice little brush on the end to apply it. It's really thin, it's thinner than water, so you get some really nice capillary action to really get in there to all your nooks and crannies where you want glue to be applied, and it's a lot better than using the good old well, the older stuff that was quite thick and you end up making a mess. Then we've got some Flurry Models washes. Okay, now these washes are clay based washes, and they're water based as well. And what you do is you brush this all over your model, let it dry, wipe it away, and what will happen is the wash will be just left in all your recessed panel lines, and it gives you a nice weathering effect. They're about, I think, £5.50-ish. I got mine from modelsargo.co.uk, or you can get them from Hanance. Really good wash. It's another way of doing it. I mean, as I say, you can use washes to go into recessed panel lines, where you just kind of use a really fine paintbrush, dab it into the panel line, let it flow into the panel line, and that's basically it. This, you just brush it all over, wipe it all off, and it's just kind of like a different way of doing it. Next, we're back to some more MIG production now. We got the MIG production filters. I think they're range from kind of like £3 to £5. You do need to look around to find the cheapest ones. Nice array of colours you can use apart from black, which I'm kind of disappointed about. I'd like to see a black in this range. And the filters, they're good if you want to. You can use them as a wash, but what you do is you put a light bit of the filter on your paintbrush, and you can lightly change the tones and stuff of what you've sprayed on, and it's just it just kind of complements the washes and gives you different options. Really good stuff. I do like that. Then we've got the very effective, very nice, but very difficult to get your head round oils. Okay, these oils, you can get these from MIG production. They're around about the £3–4 mark, and this stuff is really good to get some really nice weathering effects. You just add some of your MIG production thinners for washes, and you can really do all sorts of weathering techniques. As I say, really complicated. I'm going to have to do some sort of tutorial or step-by-step video build using these to explain them a bit more, but they're really good. We've then got, as we've already probably mentioned, the MIG production pigments. As I say, I think it's a better quality than the Flurry models, but you don't get as much. I think they're around about £3.10 or something like that. A massive array of different colours for you to really pick the colour you want. I've then got the Tamia Withering Master. It's like a little palette, and you get like a little brush and stuff, and it's basically a bit like a pastel, a bit like a pigment sort of thing. And I would say this is kind of, I got this first, and I did all my weathering with this, you know, around engine areas, doing kind of grease stains and stuff. And I'd say this is kind of like a nice sort of basic sort of weathering where you can start, but I found that, you know, once I started doing oils, washes, the pigments by MIG production, that I don't really use these Tamia weathering washes anymore, and I think they're quite expensive. I think they're like £5 or £6, and I do find that they kind of mix the colours around so that you do have to kind of buy more than one. But that's them. Then we've got some more of that EZ line. As I say, it is really kind of like fine line for doing aerials and stuff. What else we've got here? We've got just some micro box of drill bits, you know, going down to as fine as 0.3 all the way up to 1.6 mil. Really good to have different sizes of them for doing all sorts of scratch building stuff. Some lead wire by Plus Model. These are really good. You can range from 0.2 mil to 1 mil in wire. It's a lead wire, so you can easily maneuver it and play around with it. I do like to use that. You can use that for all sorts of hoses and pipes and stuff if you're doing scratch building. I do also have some fuse wire that you could probably get from your local shop, really nice and cheap. I do find the 5 amp 1 kilowatt lighting is good for feeding that through your remove before flight tags. That's kind of nice and cheap. Where are we now? Right, I do also have some Games Workshop like grass, static grass. This is good. Say when you're doing like those mud effects on tank tracks using the PVA glue and the pigments, if you just mix in a little bit of this, it just gives that little bit of texture. Okay, but don't go over the top because it does make it look a bit weird, but it's a nice little bit of extra texture. I've got some gravel stuff. To be honest with you, I've never used it. Last time I used that was my Games Workshop days. Then we've got some post-its. This is good for, as I mentioned with the Mr. Metal colour range, if you use the Tamia tape it can peel it up, whereas if you put down these post-its it's less tacky, less sticky, and it can be a bit more user-friendly and stop the peeling. Okay, so that is good for that, so I'll keep a bit of that around just in case. Just put that back. Okay, then I've got a nice little tin here, and we've just got all sorts of different size paintbrushes, from 5x0 to 1 or 2 or something like that. We've got some flat paint brushes as well, which are also good. We've got some of our Withering sponge brushes as well, which is, it's also good too. I've even got a micro saw in here, which is good for sawing down your what is it again? Your resin bits. So that's good. Cotton wool buds, also good. Gets from the supermarket. Cotton wool buds, you can do all sorts of blending of washes, cleaning, airbrushes. I mean, just lots of little uses. I'll get through loads and loads of these. Got some different shape ones on here, which is also good for bigger areas. If you're thinking about going off and spending all that money on the Tamia cotton wool buds, I wouldn't bother. It's quite expensive and you don't really need them. Got like a pot of water here just for cleaning paintbrushes. We've got just some water for mixing paints, thinning them down. We've also got, let's move this a bit. Also got a little a bath for the airbrush. Basically in this bath it's just a load of airbrush cleaner, thinners, just a big cocktail of stuff. There's also some screen wash in there, concentrated for what you put in your car, basically. Nice and cheap. And what you do is, you just take your airbrush apart, put all the pieces in this little bath, and you can let it soak for a couple of days, and it just helps keep it nice and clean, makes cleaning a lot easier and quicker. Moving along, nice little pot of just simply some clamps, some simple pegs. I do like these ones that's got the rubbery ends. It just makes it grip a bit better. Really nice, those ones are. It's just good for keeping your pieces together while they glue. A pot just full of different foams and sponges. I use this for sort of like masking up our wheel wells, just so that You know, they stay their nice colour while you then spray over with your main colour. You can then remove the sponges, and you end up keeping the colour all nice and you don't get any spray in there. Also another little pot just full of kind of like remove before flight tags, a bit of photo etch stuff, just kind of little pieces that we don't want to get lost. Nice little pot here of sanding sticks. Now the sanding sticks, really good to make sure you've got a lot of nice different sanding sticks, because you know, it is a big part of the modelling. I get these from modelsalgo.co.uk. You can, I think, get them from Hanans, and they come in different sets. Okay, first set is like your coarse, medium and fine sanding sticks. Okay, these are the thinner ones. These are kind of like your general purpose. They're really good, about £4.50. You've got your sponges as well. This comes as a set of 3. You've got your these are like a fine grit, good for like finishing off. Spongy, so that they go with the curvature of the model. And then you get a a polishing stick, which you've got a really fine sanding stick this side, which kind of just gets out those micro scratches, and then the white side polishes up squeaky clean, literally squeaky. And then you've also got same as these, but in a skinny stick version, and as I say, they're around about £4.50 or something like that a pack. And then you can get the spongy skinny stick version as well. So they're good. And then just a nice array of metal foils as well. Don't use them that often, but you know, it's good to have them, and they are quite cheap and you can get them pretty much anywhere. Bit of stuff off camera. We've got our, you know, just some tweezers just for holding little pieces. I find that it was good to have loads and loads of these for lots and lots of little pieces. Also got our a little kind of cleaning pot here, where you spray in all your nasties from your airbrush. Say you clean it and you put some airbrush cleaner in there to clean it, you can spray it in here and it just keeps it, you know, all inside this pot rather than the fumes everywhere and you're breathing it in and everything. So that's nice and good. That was about £10. I forgot where I got it from. I think it was eBay, but that's kind of nice. What else we got off camera? Bit of safety equipment. Okay, we've got a face mask. There are lots of face masks out there. They're around about, I mean, anything under £20. This one's M3. I had to buy the filters separately. They were about maybe £6–8. I found this one's a really nice tight seal, and it's good to make sure you're not kind of breathing in all the nasties. You can get cheaper ones, but definitely a must investment. Safety goggles, just in case you're doing something where pieces are flying off, or sparks, or whatever you might be doing with metal work or something. We've got our Graphic Air Systems A300 SD here. This thing was about £200. It's very expensive, but it is really super, does the job nicely. I think it was something like, I know this, the room in here, it could kind of like remove all the air in this room within under a minute or 30 seconds or something like that. Pretty fancy, but as I say, it's quite expensive. It's kind of up to you really. I would recommend you get some sort of extractor unit. You know, something's better than nothing, because I mean, there are lots of nasty chemicals here, pretty nasty for your health, and you know, you do need to kind of think about that, as much as you might not want to go off and spend the money buying face masks and extractor units and stuff. It is quite important. Next thing, oh, hold on, I've got a little tray just on the side out of the camera here, and in here I've just got, you know, a couple of little things. I mean, we've got our kind of airbrush cleaner brushes. They you can nicely brush them inside little hard to reach places. I think it was off eBay. It was only something like £2 or something. Forgot who made it or anything. I think it was kind of a general purpose thing. Toothbrush, good for brushing out any kind of dirt and sand, leftover sanding dust that's built up in recessed panel lines. Good for brushing that out and keeping your model all tidy. Couple of pliers, some cutters, you know, for just generally, these pliers are good for holding photo etch parts a lot easier and kind of like bending them and stuff. You never know when you might need a screwdriver or something. Nice big some pliers for really cutting into some, because you can get some really thick sprues, and you can really do with getting in there and cutting stuff off. So the next thing, okay, is my little pot of tools here, which actually is quite a lot in here and quite a bit to explain. So I'm going to set the camera up. In fact, I could probably adjust this right now. 1 second. Bring us in. Okay. Okay. Right then. So, got this little pot full of different tools, and they're all quite very important. We've got like a, what is it? It's like a silver pencil. I haven't actually used this yet. I do want to get around to doing it, but it's good for like doing some kind of weathering, kind of showing sort of light scratch marks. We've got this is by MK. It's like a micro saw, really good for sawing resin parts, sawing plastic. You know, if you want to kind of make flaps or slats in different angles and positions, good for that. We've got our Tamia P cutter. Okay, now this is probably the best P cutter I've found. I think it was like about maybe £8, a little bit expensive, but you know, this is what you want to get for doing all your scribing. It is quite good as well, because you get like a little open door bit here, and you've got a couple of spare blades as well. Okay, got like a little spatula here. I've got a few of them actually. Good for like spreading your green putty and kind of fillers, that kind of stuff. Pair of scissors, nice pair of scissors. Kind of, you know, spend a bit of money on some scissors. You know, you want to get nice pointy, thin, nice small, so you can nicely cut them off, cut your pieces off your sprue. You know, you can cut your decal paper as well. A nice blade here by Swan Morton. Okay, this is a number, I use number 11 blades. Okay, I try and keep the blades nice and fresh as well. I think this was like maybe £4 or something. The blades are really cheap too. This is like another scribing tool. I kind of use this for, say, you can, well, I don't use this very often anymore, but like you've got our scribing templates here, and you can just scribe in like the squares and circles. I think that was maybe £5 or something, but as I say, I don't really use that anymore, to be honest. We've got another micro saw here, but this one's by Trumpeter. They were about the same price, these. I think they're, I don't know, £5–6 or something. This one's good for kind of general purpose. This one, you do get like a nice blade like this, because as you can imagine, the way the blade's situated on this, you can only saw so far down, whereas this you can actually saw quite a bit. I mean, it's good to have different saws. I've even got another big saw here. By having lots of different saws, you can kind of generally get into different angles, different shapes. Okay, so although I'd say this one, get this one as like a general purpose, but if you can buy some more just to kind of make sure you get all them angles. We've got a little rivet marker here. This is like a general thing where you can, oh actually this one's by Trumpeter actually. Okay, let's buy a Trumpeter as well, and basically you just roll it across your model, and you end up leaving like lots of little rivets, and you do get a couple of these. If I could just take it out for you, you get these kind of like saw blade things, looking things, okay, and you get a couple of them, so you can do different sizes. You know, so if you want to do kind of like 1 in 7/2 scale, you can go for smaller ones and so forth. You've got a nice little guard on there as well. Crappy little braid, I don't know how I've still got that. Then you've got these some more rivet markers, okay, whereas this one you can go along and you can do a whole row quite easily. These are really nice because although it might look like it's just a point and you just make a rivet, there's actually a little hole on the end of the point. So what you end up doing is making a circular rivet, so it makes it look as if you've got like a rivet, but then there's like a nut or bolt or screw in the middle, and it just gives you that nice extra little bit of fancy detail. And you get 2 sizes with this one, which was a 1 in 48 scale, but you can get the 1 in 32nd scale version of these. Price, I think it was maybe £8–10, and I think this was from Models I'll Go. Or then again, I think I might have gone to the website to get these, and then I noticed on Models I'll Go that there was there. A nice non-permanent marker, good for scratch building, just to kind of mark out where you're cutting and what you need to cut, rather than kind of it's just helps with the planning and make sure you've cut where you need to cut and make sure you've cut everything you need to cut. Nice little hand drill, okay. You can put all sorts of sizes in here. If you open it up, you've got these, well, I don't know what they're called, but you can put different sizes of drills in, okay. And then you've got one on the end here as well, okay. Now this, to be honest with you, there's so many different types out there. I don't know who made this, but I mean, you're talking like £6–8 or something. You just search around eBay, Hanans, Models I'll Go, Scale Model World or something, .co.uk or something, okay, and you'll find stuff like these. This is kind of general stuff. Big blade, don't really use it very much. We've got another scribing tool, but this one's by Trumpeter. This one is better, this one isn't so good by Trumpeter, but you can get into those nasty 90-degree angles where you want to scribe, whereas this can't quite get into the 90-degree angles, okay. So this is good for just getting those angles, although you can use other tools. Some more tweezers just for holding maybe decals pieces, photo etch, that kind of stuff. Another kind of like spatula for the same as this one, really, just for applying green putty, that kind of stuff. This is another hand drill, okay, just like this, but it's a different make, different manufacturer, different shape, but it's the same thing. But with this one, all I've done is I've taken a sewing pin, screwed that into this end, and this makes a good way of doing bits of scribing, doing rivets, that kind of general area. Another a marker, a pen, simple pen. I'll just use this for kind of marking what decals I've done. Say, you know, I've done decal number 13, so then I'll cross number 13 out so I know where I am with decaling. And then, as I've kind of already mentioned, these templates, okay. Admittedly, these little templates here, which are for rivets, came with this kit, okay. And what you do is you put it up against where you wanna, what you wanna say rivet, and then you can just follow the little grooves and have good spacing, nice even spacing all the way along. So that's them. And then you can get this little set, okay, and this is by Dream Model. You can get this from Models of Go again, you can get it from Hanans, pretty much any model shop, to be honest with you. And it is a nice set of free templates, okay? And what you could do with this, for example, going around a curvature area of, say, a model, and you want to come in with your P cutter, you know, it's a nice template to guide you, and you can put your P cutter up against it, okay? So it's nice to bend and it goes back to shape. You can do straight edges, and then as you've probably noticed, you've got all these different shapes and sizes in the middle, okay, where you can do all kinds of scribing and everything all over your model. And these are a really kind of good tool for getting in there with your scribing. Now, I've talked a lot, and this kind of tutorial has ended up being a very, very long tutorial. There has been a lot of stuff to go through. I've probably missed something. You've probably got loads of questions as well, kind of wanting to know a bit more detail about all this stuff, but this is the whole point of the step-by-step video builds. Step-by-step video builds, you know, I go into detail with all this stuff, and you know, some step-by-step video builds I might focus on the Mr. Metal colours a bit more than, say, other step-by-step video builds. So hopefully, you know, I'll end up going through absolutely all this in greater detail and showing you all the techniques properly and how to use everything. And you know what, I'm probably going to end up buying more stuff, more sets of paints anyway, and there's going to be loads more stuff, loads more techniques. So for now, I mean, that has give you hopefully a nice general sort of quick, well, I wouldn't say it was quick, but I mean, you know, a quick general sort of rundown of pretty much all the tools, chemicals and equipment and paints that there is, and hopefully you're going to take away a bit more knowledge about the tools of the trade, and hopefully help you kind of decide what you want to buy, what you should buy, what you don't really need to buy now or don't need to buy at all, okay? So until, say, the next tutorial, this is Genesis Models. My name is Bobby Waldron. Have a great time modelling, and I'll see you next time.